Hi guys, welcome back to TailorMade Scale Modeling. Today I'm bringing you a review for the pretty much brand new Dornier Do215B-4. So it's kind of a big box. It's by ICM from the Ukraine, and it's a pretty remarkable kit, as you will see. Just let me take the camera around and you will see what I mean. Alright, this is kit number 48241 from ICM from the Ukraine. The Do215B-4 was the second but last version of this airplane, which is a spin-off of the Do17. This one, the 215, had been designed for export purposes soon after the rearmament of the German Air Forces, and of course the German aircraft producing companies were looking for contractors from abroad, and actually the third version of the Do215 was accepted by the Swedish Air Force, and 18 aircraft were started in production. Soon after the hostilities started, after the war started, these 18 aircraft were confiscated. Interestingly enough, 2 of these were eventually sent on to be delivered to Russia. Their fate remains unknown, at least to me. You can see, even with the zoom back, this box is pretty big, and you know, this is hardly edge to edge here, and as you can see, there is a very nice box art. Some of the painting instructions are given here on the sides. No interesting stuff there. A little bit of history of the aircraft right here, and CAD drawings on the back. The ICM, many of the ICM kits do have this folding mechanism one-piece box, which is very sturdy and is very nice, and you can see that the box is very well filled with plastic. As you can see, all the sprues are packed in one bag, which is, well, you know, these parts do not really seem to move around a lot. But so I'd say this is probably a minimum requirement is just sufficient. I had ICM kits that were basically just toss sprues in the box. Alright, now this is a pretty convincing box. It's really heavy and it's really sturdy, and it should be a good protection for shipping, especially with a double folded rim here. Okay, let's do this a little different this time. Paperwork first. There you go. There's a decal sheet, pretty big here, A4, not stapled booklet. Total 20 pages. Russian and English. The colors are given in Model Master codes. Okay, will have to be translated into other colors by paint chart. Okay, just a little bit here, some technical information on the aircraft, some history here. Sprue map, numbered sprue map following, and you can see there's a number of parts marked in red. These will not be applicable for the B4 version that is given in this box. I think that will that just gives us an idea that there will be at least a rebox with a different decal option, and some changes in mainly in the canopy section here. Okay, this is CAD aided mapping for the instruction. It does seem to be a little crowded at first sight, but actually there's only very few parts added to each sub-assembly, which makes for a pretty nice and straightforward assembly. Of course, the plane will be built from the inside out. That was to be expected. Okay, here's already options given for 2 different aircraft, at least. That will probably have an impact on the decals you will choose later on. As you can see, the wing section's pretty large. Engine options, quite obviously some of the panels of the engine nacelles can be posed open and will give a very good look on the Daimler-Benz motor or engine that drove this piece of machinery. Well, you can see this is very straightforward. I mean, there's even the beginner should be okay with this kit. Very obviously for a recon version, it's interesting to see that a bomb armament is given and advised to be installed. Alright, but that will just needed to be researched a little bit more. And here you can see where the final pieces come together. And here's the final picture of the fully assembled kit. Here are the painting and marking instructions that seem to be very nicely and obviously very detailed. Not much to really worry about. Oh, they actually have a rigging advice here. Very nicely done. As far as I can see, there are 4 decal options giving in the kit. Alright, this seems pretty good. Now let's have a look at the decal sheet. The print is a little bit unsatisfactory. I will zoom in. Hopefully this will show on your screen. Let me see if that will... I don't know if you can see here. There are imperfections in the printing. You can see a lot of cracks here. And there's a lot of tiny white specks on the Balkenkreuze here. I don't know if that is on top of the decal or if this is a printing imperfection. I can't really tell, but it seems that the print is not 100% complete. Okay, so that's a minus for this kit. Very typically for the German market, there are no swastikas in this one, even though I'm sufficiently certain that there should be some. I don't know if the painting guide says anything about it. No, obviously they don't suggest the use of swastikas in this kit. But here you can see all the small markings. There are dials for the cockpit here, maintenance markings. That seems, everything seems pretty nice, but yeah, it's a pity they have these imperfections on the decals here, especially on the large black sections. That's not nice, but okay. By the way, this is for an Hungarian version that flew, I think at least 11 of them flew for the Hungarian Air Force. Okay, alright. Well, say half decent. In general, they look pretty good. They're not very shiny. The decal film for the letters is actually full size and square. It's not following the contour, so silvering is a possibility here. Is, you know, I don't know if you can see that. If I let the light play, you can see how large the film section is. Probably that should be trimmed back. All right. Now the big bag, sealed with a sticky tape here, so this can be reclosed again, as said. Oops, just let me zoom out again. Ooh, there you go. You see, there's this big bag. Okay. In this bag, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bigger sprues, and then there is this individual bag. That is appreciated that at least the clear parts do get a separate bag to protect them from scratching up. And here are the clear parts. Let me take my magnification glasses so I can take a closer look. These clear parts are indeed very clear, very nicely made. At least one of them is. The other one seems to be a little bit foggy. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you can really see that. This is a mirror-wise version, and this is all foggy. This is like frosted glass all over, and the machine gun port is on the other side. That is interesting. I don't know what version would be coming off this, but I think this version is not very usable really because of the frosting. Otherwise the parts are pretty clear, and the cockpit framing seems to be very obvious, probably a bit on the thick side, but I will have to compare that to the pictures in a book that I had ordered. I will let you know, of course, about the result. But these are fairly nice. I'll just let me please put them back into the bag. Wouldn't like to have them scratched up. Okay, just now let's have a look at the sprues. Just taking them in no particular order. Here are the wings. This is the inside section. There's some ribbing detail where the wheel wells will be. The trailing edge is pretty thin. Now flipping them over, there's a very convincing surface detail. I hope this shows by the light's reflection. The engraved, the recessed detail here is not quite up there with the finest products that we receive from Far East, like Meng or Great Wall Hobby these days. It's a little bit on the heavy side, but I actually don't care that much. I think this is very nicely done. It's convincing. It's not over riveted, and I am very pleasantly surprised, really. You know, with ICM, you really, you have the proverbial box of chocolates. You'll never know what you get, but in this one, very obviously, you'll get a good quality casting. There's no flash, there are no short shots. The connecting The connectors or sprue gates, I think they're called, are pretty finely done, even though I would have to say that, I don't know, I hope this will show if I close up. Please take a look at the sprue gate here. You can see that the stress on the sprue has already marred the plastic, and that will certainly result in some work later on. I think I'll cut these right here and now to prevent further detail. You see, I just cut away the part and leave a stump standing to avoid further stress going onto the surface of the wings here. Okay, nice. Even bigger, this sprue. What is this? Sprue number 8. Okay, this is the first sprue actually. You can see that there's the parts breakup, 2 fuselage halves. There are a few ejection pin marks in the area of the cockpit. These will probably be visible from the outside, but only from certain perspectives, so this is not that bad really. Pretty happy about it actually. Yeah, ejector pin marks are there, but they are pretty well hidden. Not perfect all the way, but some work will be necessary. But I think that goes without saying. In every model you have to have a minor portion of work that goes that way. I'm just on the lookout for sink marks right now, as the plastic is pretty evenly thin and there are no heavy support parts. There's a little chance of sink marks here, and I'm happy to say that at least on the fuselage there seem to be no sink marks whatsoever. That is for fuselage that big. It's pretty impressive. There's a little mar here on the side, but that's really small. That's really small. I'm very impressed. Well done indeed. Okay, tail planes. Okay, flaps, rudders, etc. Restrained, stressed surface detail here. Probably that's textile surface is pretty well represented. However, these are two-side big parts and they do show some sink marks. They do show some sink marks here. That's going to be difficult to repair, but I should say that one should apply some paint first to see how obvious this really is, because there is a mix of sink mark and ribbing detail here, and probably the sink mark will not be that obvious anyway. Interesting, there are flow markings from the injection molding process all over the parts, but they seem to be having no effect to the surface. But as well, these will have to be checked by applying paint. There's internal structures for the bomb bay, which can be post-opened in this model. And again, the outside detail seems pretty nice, even though I have the feeling that the panel lines on the fuselage are somewhat more restrained than on the actual steering surfaces and planes. However, that will show only We will know how much of an impact this will have on the model only by building this. Well, yes, by the way, just so you can see, this is my arm. This is a pretty big plane. Yeah, here. Well, you know, pretty big one. Okay, seem to be two identical sprues number D back here. Engine parts, spinner, propeller, bombs, machine guns. Everything's there, aplenty, I should say. This looks pretty nice and convincing, even though probably if you want to pose some of the panels open, you will have to do some more research for the detailing of the engines. They're nice, but they will need some help if you want to show a maintenance scene or something like that. The wheels are not weighted, they're just round all around. That will have to be improved, really. The bombs are one part with no obvious sink marks, just a couple of molding seam lines, which are pretty normal. The machine guns are not the most detailed out there, but these are pretty convincing right out of the box. I have seen better ones, but you know, this is a 30 euro kit, 30 to 35 euros, and you can't compare that to another kit that is probably out there in the market for 70, I guess. Comparing these wouldn't be fair. You always have to judge what you get for your money, and what you get for your money here is very nice, it's very convincing, and I'm liking this a lot, really. The mud guards for the wheels, look at that, very nice. I hope that just doesn't focus only on my hand. I guess that's just great, lovely. Nicely done. Okay. Last sprue, sprue C in this case. Oh, engine. Wait a second. I didn't check for ejection pin marks. Well, there's no flash you need to speak of, really. Injection pin marks are found on the bottom part of the engine nacelles. I don't know if this is the wheel well. If it is, then there are two very nasty ejection pin marks right there, but otherwise this is pretty good. Okay, back to sprue number C. Engine nacelles. On the inside, unfortunately I kind of expected that. There are ejection pin marks here in between the ribbing of the nacelles, so these will be very obviously visible if you pose the wheel wells open with the gear down. The gear itself, it's seemed very sturdy. This is very nice. I love that. This looks really good. There is a firewall with detail, very nicely done. A lot of small parts here as well. Trim wheels. Oh, nice one. Look at that. This is for the cockpit. Can you see all these levers? Oh, this is a very nice part, isn't it? Okay. This is pretty good. Okay, here, their stern wheel. Oops. Sorry about that. Just turn that around. Here, have a look at the stern wheel. This is one part, you know, together with the wheel well insert here. That is probably not the most convincing thing I've ever seen, but at least it will be very stable. Well, that is quite interesting, really. Oh, here's a part that you should really take a closer look at. Please look at the mesh right next to the stern wheel. That isn't that great? I love that. See, this is like woven. Pretty good, isn't it? Okay, that was the last sprue. Well, all in all, I have to say, this is a very, very pleasant surprise. Kudos ICM for this one. Given the parts layout, I think we can expect to get more of the 215 or the 17 probably, which is basically identical, except a few parts that may be exchanged here with this part breakdown given. I'd say for 30 to 35 euros, not including shipping, this is a pretty good kit and a pretty large kit, even though it's not excessive in detail. I don't know if there is a parts count here. Oh yeah, that's 205 parts. Length is 330 millimeters. Wingspan 375 millimeters. I think this is very good money value, and if ICM continues on this track, I'd say they will be putting out a lot more winners into the market in the future. And I think this is a pretty cool aircraft. And you know, there's a night fighter version, there's a bomber version, there's another recon version. In total 105 were built, I guess. And they saw a lot of action in many theaters all over. So this is something really to aspire to. Alright, I think I bored you long enough. Take care and see you soon here at TailorMade Scale Modeling. Bye bye.